Hey everybody, and welcome to live streaming with Jesse, or live coding with Jesse. And today we're going to do something different. I thought we'd do some React Native. So I have a React Native project that I'm nearly finished with, and I don't know that it's going to work out how I wanted it to. So I anticipated doing some work with Redux in React Native, but here's my problem. I don't know if you can see this. Let me make it a bit bigger. I was trying to update my packages and it's just hanging. I can't. I tried restarting my computer and doing it again, so I'm not sure if this is going to work like that. But what we can do is we can do some other work. So right now I'm running two different branches. I'm running a the master branch, which has all the same functionality, but it doesn't use Redux. And then I have a Redux branch. So what we should be able to do, if this won't work, is just switch back to the master branch and then work off of that branch, and everything should still work fine. So just to introduce you to what we're working on, this is a flashcard app. This is the final project for the React Nano degree from Udacity. So this is how I'm implementing that project. I'm sure there's a lot of different ways that it could be done. Basically, what it does is it lets you create decks of flashcards, and then you can quiz yourself on them. So I'll run it through quickly. So these are the decks. I can click on one of these decks and we can start the quiz, and I could answer. Obviously you see the UI still needs some work. So I click the first one to be correct. The second one we'll do incorrect, just to show how the grading works. Basically you make the question and the answer, and you can toggle back and forth between the question and the answer. And then once you're done, it gives you the score. In this case, we got a 50%. Okay? And then you can also add cards. So this I don't think will work right now, but let's just try to add one. Yeah, see, it's not going to work because this branch is trying to use Redux to do this, but all the Redux packages are not installed. So let's dismiss that and go back, and you're also able to add a new deck. This is not going to work most likely as well. Let's submit that. Oh, you know what? I don't think I hooked that one up to Redux yet, so that didn't throw an error yet. But that's how it's supposed to work. Alright, yeah, this still is not working, so let's just cancel that for now and switch over to our other branch. Let's go. Okay, I do want to probably have to restart this. There we go. Okay, let's run yarn quickly in this branch. I'd like to at least test to see if it was something I was trying to do on the branch, or if it's something wrong with this computer. We'll let that go for a minute just to see what's going on. But let's check out a little bit of the code. Let me make this a bit bigger. And let me say hey to everyone in the live chat before we start. Let's see. Hey everybody. John Hansen says you broke it. Yes, somehow I broke yarn. I don't know what I did. All right, see, that's still not working. So let's just quit that, and Let's refresh. Maybe I'll restart the server. This is actually the first time I've tried to run this on this computer. I've been developing this on my laptop, so it's probably why I'm having problems. I didn't allow enough time before the stream to test everything out. But here's some of the code that we're working with. And I guess since we haven't ever worked with React Native on this stream, I'll do a little intro. It's going to be really familiar if you've been watching what we're doing with React, but there are a few differences. So I'm just going to run through the differences quickly, just to make it a little bit easier to understand what's going on and why we had to do things a little differently. Let's see. Dragon Hunter said, "Am I too late?" No, Alfred said, "Yeah, nobody's too late yet. We haven't really started anything." Let's see. Yes, I am using Atom. Okay, Harshad also asked about your PR. Harshad, I'm testing that pull request. So I've downloaded it to a different branch and I'm testing it. I think I ended up using the service that you recommended, the MLab, setting up a MongoDB database, and that was all working. I think my problem still is the email thing. So the what was that? Mail trap. For some reason, it still doesn't work. I think you had mentioned something about possibly the ports being blocked by my network. I'm thinking that that's the problem, because I've had issues before with ports in the past. So I know the ports are kind of on lockdown here. So what I'm going to do, and this is why I decided not to live stream that, because I'm not going to try to do any work on that project until I'm going to go home on my home network where I have more control over what ports are blocked. I'm going to test everything out there. Hopefully it all works out then, and then if it works out, I'll merge it all. Just going to have to come up with some other way to do testing, I guess, from from work, from my office. So anyway, that's why I haven't merged it yet, and that's why we're not working on it right now. So hopefully, at least I'll know. If it still doesn't work at home, then maybe it's something else. But from everything that I've tried doing with it, it's probably a port thing. So I'll have more info about that tomorrow. Alright, so let me go. Oops. No beer. So I forget to shave. Yes, I have not. Harsh is asking, change to port 25. I tried port 25. I tried port 4 something, whatever the other one you recommended was. I tried all those ports. Nothing worked. So yeah, so I'll try it out at home. Let's see. So he asked if I'm drunk. I am not drunk. No, I haven't had any alcohol today. Actually, for a while. I don't remember the last time I drank. Okay. Let me start my timer. And okay, so we're just going to go over some code first, and then maybe we'll try to do some updates, maybe with the UI. So sorry about the misleading title. I really did want to work with Redux, but until I figure out what's going on with Yarn, we could do work with Redux, and reasonably expect that it would do what we want it to do, but I have no way to test it. So let's check this out. First of all, well, we'll start at the beginning here with our app.js file. Obviously, let me make this a bit bigger for you all. So the setup for package.json is actually should look pretty similar to any other React project, and then I've added in our standard linting that we've been using on all our projects with Prettier and standard JS. You'll notice something's a little different. Instead of React scripts, we have React native scripts, right? So everything is going to say React native instead. We're using Expo, which it brings in. Expo does a lot of stuff. You'll see us bring in some components and things from Expo. We're importing it in various parts of our app. It also comes with an app that you can download and then allows you to test out the app on your phone and debug and everything, right there. So let's see. Alright, so not a lot going on with the package JSON. Let's check out our app.js. Okay, so we're bringing in, React just like normal. We have, let's go over some of the navigation, because the navigation is probably one of the biggest differences between React and React Native that I've dealt with so far. So if you notice, we're not using React Router, we're using React Navigation. We're bringing in a tab navigator and a stack navigator. So the navigation is definitely, let's see where I'm pulling this in. Okay, so here's the first part. I have a tab navigator. Now this, obviously, these are the tabs at the top. Or if you're on Android, the tabs are at the top. If you're on iOS, the tabs are at the bottom. One of the cool things about React Native is there are some standard components that get rendered differently based on whether you're on iOS or Android. So it'll use like the native styling options for those, which is really cool. You don't have to worry about doing that yourself. So in this case, we added some tabs. We have a list view tab and a deck view tab. This is really straightforward, right? We have our screen, right? This is the label, tab bar label. This is what the user will see. And then we say what component is going to render. So you could see all our views over here, our React components. So we just tell the navigator what component to display as the view when you click on that particular tab. So super easy. Notice we do import this. So it's very similar to React Router in those terms, but we also have some options. So you can style your tab bar. Okay, just basic options, colors and things like that. But then we also have the stack navigator, and think of the stack navigator like if you were to click on buttons within the app, you would want the views to change, right? But you don't want every single view to be on your tabs. That you would have way too many tabs. So this is where all the rest of them come into play. So we're bringing in the tabs here. So we're actually so we've named this tab navigator tabs, right? We saved it to that constant. So we're pulling all of this in, and then in addition to that, we're adding a screen for what we call it for our deck view, our new question view, our quiz view. And you saw all those views when we did the demo a few minutes ago, right? So that's how navigation works. So some elements are familiar, but that was definitely something I had to wrap my head around, to understand. I was coming from browser mode using, React Router, so a little bit different for that. Let's see. As far as this page is concerned, I think that's all. I want to go over maybe this. Since it's this here, we'll talk about this. We have this style sheet.create, and you'll notice, I guess it's hard to see on this page. We'll go to another page here, so maybe it's a little bit more obvious. Where's our style? There we go. So we're using style sheet.create. We don't have to do it this way, but there's a performance improvement if you add your styles in like this, and then this is just a JavaScript object, and then we can put it in here. So on our view, we have style. We just have styles.container. So then everything under container is applied to this component, right? You'll notice there are there's no indication of pixels or anything like that. Everything in React Native is just straight numbers. Okay, so they don't, we don't have like VH or pixels or EM or whatever you normally use in the browser. Okay, obviously we're still doing, since this is a JavaScript object, we're camel casing everything. We're actually importing colors, so we have a colors.js file, and we're just bringing in the colors from there. So we have purple and white coming in. Let's see. I have just some test data up here, so this will actually be gone in the production version of this app, but I needed some test data to work on before I had everything set up and working. Let's see. Okay, we're using async storage instead of local storage, so there isn't local storage on your device. The equivalent would be async storage. Depending on your device, whether it's iOS or Android, the database that's holding that in the background will be different, but you don't have to worry about that. Async storage takes care of all that, and you have a simple API to use that. So for now, it's just get item, right? So saved, everything is just saved as key value pairs. So all of our decks are saved under the key decks, right? And then so in this particular case, we're just getting everything, all of them, and then we're just looping through them all. Let's see. Okay, the only other difference you'll see, we don't have divs or p tags, right? We have views. So instead of a div, you're probably going to want to use view wherever you would normally use a div. And instead of a p tag, you want to use text. That's just in general. So you would never just have text, right? Normally you could have just text inside of a view that isn't wrapped in a component, but you can't do that in React Native. You have to have any text wrapped inside of a text tag. So that's probably the other really big difference. So probably the way you do routing, and then the views and text instead of divs and p tags, probably the biggest differences. Let me see. Quiz view. I guess I could show one. Let me show one that has a input. So you can see with the inputs, it's actually not that. It's not that different from what you would normally see. The cool thing though is we don't have to worry as much about styling inputs. So by default, depending on what you're using, you'll get that default device style. So so that's kind of nice. You can of course style it however you want, but if you didn't want to worry about that, you'd get default styling, which is cool. Alright, so let's actually do some coding with this, and let me see how much time I have. I do want to answer questions. I see the live chat has a lot going on in there right now, so I will, as soon as this Pomodoro timer's up, I'll go and answer some questions, and then we'll see how much time we have. I have a meeting in about an hour, so I can't go any longer than that, and I need to get some data ready for the meeting. So probably need to end no later than like 45 minutes from now. Okay, looks like my app froze on my my device, so I'm going to restart it so we can actually see what's going on. While that's working, let's we'll go back over here, and let's see. Let's see. Okay, here we go. All right, so it's back. We're back here. Let's take a look at the UI and see where we could have some improvements here. One thing that I've noticed probably could be improvement is these titles need to be bigger and uniform throughout. Right now they're not uniform throughout, so we can. We also need to, let's add a card, because we're going to add a couple of cards so that we can see the UI. So that should be good. But you'll notice right now, here's my biggest problem. The UI doesn't automatically update when you add a card. So right now, the data is there. So the data for those 2 new cards that we just put in is there in async storage. But it's not reflected yet. So what I'd have to do then is reload, and when we reload, you'll see it'll be reflected. See, so now we have our 2 cards. Okay, so now we can see our quiz, right? So we have our question and answer, and we have, this is the second question, right? So so that works now. But what I need to have happen, and this is why I was starting to implement Redux. I mean, also the data is a little bit cleaner with Redux anyway, but I wanted to try to get that automatic refresh. But since we can't really get Redux working right now, we're going to put that on hold, and instead we're going to work a little bit on the UI. So here's what I'd like to do. These buttons are way too big in proportion to the other text on the page. So the text inside the buttons as well as the title and everything. So let's just do some styling. And like I said, in React Native, the styling's it's not that different, but it is a little bit odd to get used to unitless styling. Okay, so where are we at? We're at deck view. Okay, so we're in our deck view, and let's go down to our styles, and let's check out our font size. I think we can definitely, for our title, we can double that font size, and I think that'll still look pretty good. Our number, I think the number's fine for right now. That's this area right here, and you can see we've already seen, since we have my device is connected to my computer right now, and so it's auto refreshing every time we change something, which is nice. So this is a lot nicer size. I think I'll stick with that for now, and let's maybe adjust these a bit. I want to keep the buttons large enough so that they can comfortably be clicked by users, even if the user happens to have a large thumb. So I'm hesitant to make the buttons any smaller, but I would like to make the proportions a bit nicer. So let's check out our button. Let's see how we have this here. So our text, let's make another it almost works like a class, but you know what I'm saying, it's not really a class, since this is just a JavaScript object. But we're going to call this button text, and oops, I'll call this button text. I guess I don't have I don't have space between these, and let's make the button text, let's see what 20 looks like. I think it might be a bit too big, but we're going to try it out. So we'll go font size 20, and we'll leave the color alone right now. Let's just see what this looks like. Whoops, we didn't put it. I didn't apply it. So here's what we need to do, and that's not a comma. So let's take this text. We're actually going to apply it to both of these. And we need to add style, and let's go with styles dot button text. Okay, now we'll save that and see how it looks. Okay, not bad, not bad. So you can see this. I definitely think that font size is more appropriate given the size of our buttons. Okay, not bad. I still don't really love the proportions though. Oh, it would probably be better if we had a title of this deck that was more reasonable. So let's add a deck. Let's see. This deck. Okay, that's a little bit bigger. We're going to submit that, and once again we actually have to manually reload this to get it to show up. Here we go. Here's our test deck. Okay. This is not bad. Not bad. Okay, let's check out our. Whoops. Oh, interesting. I have to do something like that. Maybe if there are no cards, then let's disable that start quiz. How about that? Let's add that in right now, because you know, we don't really want that behavior. So I don't know if you saw that, but when I click start quiz, since there's no cards, it automatically takes me to the score screen, and obviously we can't get a score if there are no cards. So let's change that. So right now, on that button to start the quiz, we have on press, and then we navigate to the quiz. But what we want to do instead is check first to see if there are any cards, and if there aren't cards, we don't want to navigate. So let's remove this. Yeah, let's remove this, and we're going to bring it up here. Let's see. Handle navigation. So I don't know about you, but before I started React Native, I was afraid that it would just be way, just so much more different that I wouldn't be able to catch on very quickly. But you could see, I mean, this is very much like what we're used to. So let's see. We're gonna need to put. Let's make this so that it can handle our clicks on both buttons. So what we need to bring in then is the view and the deck. And so here, what we can bring in there is, let's see. On press. Oops. I don't know why I got rid of that. What did I call that? Handle navigation. Handle navigation. And what did we call it? We quiz. So the view was quiz. And then we did bring in, where did we get that from? Oh, okay. We're already bringing in deck here, so. Okay. And let's copy this. And for this one, we're going to bring in new question. So if you notice here, normally we would put an on click here for a button, but it's on press for React Native, which makes sense. We're not clicking. You know, this is all touchscreen. All right, let's see. Question deck. Oh, I need to put in view, and then yeah, this should be fine the way it is. Let's save that, and we'll click it and see if it works. Whoops, navigation is not defined. Whoops, I didn't say. This navigation. Alright, let's try that again. Navigation is not a function. Reload. What did I do wrong? Oh, okay. Now it's working. Alright, great. So it's working, and it looks like it's taking us to the right place, and it's passing the data. We can double check that it's passing data by going to something that actually does have data. Yep. And those are the right questions. Oops. Sorry, I didn't realize I didn't have this on the screen. I'll do this again. We can see this one. It is passing the right card data, and it's obviously going to the right spot. So now that we've implemented that, we can say, at least for this on press. So we're going to say if where's our yeah, so we're going to say if deck questions dot length is greater than 0, okay, if that question's length greater than 0, don't even want to hit on navigation deck. Alright, let's see if that works. Nope. What did I do? Okay, I'm getting an error obviously, so I've done something. Where am I at? Questions 0. Whoops. Alright, let's try to make this a regular turn. Otherwise, no questions. Alright, let's make this Alright, so basically what I want to do with this no questions, is indicate to the user that they need to add a question. So for right now, that's going to be a console log, which obviously isn't going to help the user that much on a device, but at least this will remind me what I intend to do with this in case we don't get to it during the stream. Alright, so my timer is up, so let me set my 5-minute timer, and oh, there we go. Getting more useful feedback here. Press. That's my old code. There we go. Alright. There we go. Okay, so that I keep forgetting you can't see my screen. Okay, so I'm on this test deck now, and I'm hitting the start quiz button. You can see that feedback there. And it's not doing anything. But if we go to our other deck, where we do have cards, we hit start quiz and it does work. Okay, so that's what we've done here, is just made sure that you can't start the quiz unless there are actually cards. So the next step, which we may or may not do on this stream, would be to add some sort of visual feedback to the user to remind them that you need to add a card first. Okay, so let me restart that 5-minute timer since I went back and did some work. Let's see. I'm going to go through some questions. Alright, let me go through the question, just see what's here. We may or may not do another Pomodoro session since I do have a meeting coming up soon. Alright, so I'm going to scroll up and try to work my way down through as many questions as I can. Oops. You guys can see that better now. Also, I forgot to mention this, but there's a live stream going on now from the Chrome Developers Conference. So check that out. I was watching it, a little bit of it earlier, and some interesting stuff. So I don't know what the times are for everything, but I think it's going on pretty much all day today. Paco says, I'm trying to master React before going on Redux. What do you guys think? I don't know that you need to master React before getting to Redux. Yeah, I mean, if you end up working on a project where it makes sense to use Redux, I say go for it. Because there are definitely some times where Redux is going to help you significantly in keeping the data flow in your app more sensible. So if you're building apps that they don't really need it, then don't worry about it. But it's a good thing to know. So I mean, it's not the only option either, right? There are other options for handling your data other than Redux. So you may not need to use Redux. You could go with MobX, which I have not used yet. But in general, when a question is like, do I need to master this before doing this? My answer is almost always no. Like, you don't need to. You just learn what you need to do for that, whatever makes the most sense for your projects. And it's not really an either-or thing with these different technologies. You can learn them both as you go. All right, hey, Sebastian says update Yarn. Okay, cool. I did not try to update Yarn yet, so I would do that to try to fix my issues with this. Dragon Hunter said, a broken Yarn still faster than NPM? Not in this case. Although I've heard the newer versions of NPM are pretty fast too. I haven't seen data as to which one's faster, but I think it's better. Okay, Harshit says clean clean the cache in Yarn. Okay, I'll have to try that. Sri thinks I sound drunk on the stream, so do I actually sound drunk on the stream? I don't know. You know how it is when you hear your own voice recorded, it always sounds weird to you. So my voice always sounds weird. I'm not a good judge, I guess. Okay, actually, let me try this now since, let's see. We'll try to clean that out and see if that'll work. Harshit says, which version of Yarn are you using? 1.1 caused problems for me. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm using a later version of Yarn on my laptop because I recently upgraded Yarn on my laptop, like sometime within the last 2 weeks or so. So I'm definitely using an older version here. So I mean, let's give it a shot. Let's see. Maybe something will happen here, but. Okay. Zionboy says, why do you use Pomodoro app? What are the benefits? Harshit mentions it helps to manage time and track work. Yeah, definitely. So in this case, on the stream, I also use it to help me to break up the stream and remember to stop coding and check out the live chat, answer some questions, and then also to remember to stop answering questions, go back to the live chat. But I do use it even when I'm not streaming, and it does help. It helps break up the work into manageable chunks, keep me on track, and keep me taking regular breaks, because often it's easy for me, at least, to keep working on a problem and I'm stuck and I keep trying things and it doesn't work. But if I step back and take a break, even if it's just for a few minutes, for some reason my brain it needs that little break, and then when I come back to it, I often either solve the problem or I realize, you know what, there are better things for me to do right now. This isn't really a main issue, you know. I may have been working really hard on some side thing that wasn't essential for the product to launch. So I like that little break. It really helps. I find I'm a lot more productive when I'm using the Pomodoro timer. Let's see. Well, based on the amount of questions I'm seeing in the live chat, I think I should try to get through the questions now and not, hey, all right, it got through it all. Awesome. Okay, so if you didn't see what just happened there, if any of you ever run into a similar problem where Yarn just is hanging and not working, try Yarn cache clean as your command. Harshit just mentioned that, and thank you for that advice. And that worked for me. So everything installed. Now, I would want to double check and test this on the other branch as well. But you saw I was having the problem on both branches. So since it worked on this branch, I'm assuming that it'll work on the other branch. I'm not going to test it right now because we still have changes here that I want to commit first anyway. So cool. That'll work. So maybe I would actually like to have everything finished and turn this project in today, so I don't know if we'll work on this more on the stream. It depends on whether or not my project passes the review. So we'll see. If it doesn't pass and I have more work to do, maybe we'll do another stream on this. Otherwise, I'll have to implement all the Redux stuff on my own. But in any case, whenever the project passes, then I can show you on the show. I might not do a whole stream about it, but I can show you the finished product. And of course, it's on my GitHub profile, so you can check out the code whenever you want. Alright, so let me just run through the rest of these questions here. Let's see. Okay, Dragon Hunter says set an AVD with Android Studio. Why Expo? I'm not sure about the first part of that statement, but why use Expo instead of Android Studio? I'm using Expo because that's how. So within the Udacity course, that's how we were taught to do app development. So I could use Android Studio, but this was just the quickest way to get everything set up. All right, let's see. The Whisper in Your Ears says that's actually the name. Says, hey, let me ask you, I've been trying to choose full stack framework and everything came down to Meteor or Sails. Apparently there is nothing more dominant these days, but people say Meteor is dead now. Harshit says Meteor is not that dead. Dragon Hunter says if Perl is not dead yet, then nothing is dead, I guess. The Whisper in Your Ear says kind of weird because Meteor has so many stars in GitHub. So let's see. Let me choose full stack. Yeah, to be honest with you, I've seen really cool things done with Meteor. I don't know about numbers as far as how many people still use Meteor, if it is dying. I don't really know. But from what I've seen built with Meteor, it was certainly very capable. So generally, I don't really do full stack stuff here. I'm more front end, although we do include some back end stuff when we need to. So I don't know that I'm the best person to give you advice on an entire framework to choose. Let's see, but maybe if somebody here watching is full stack or has an opinion that way, please share that in the live chat. Okay, Japan, hello. Alright, Sri says, guys, you're wasting your time. This is not realistic. Go elsewhere. Good luck. Okay, so not sure what I did that upset Sri, but I guess the stream's not for everybody. Let's see. I'm not sure what he means by realistic. I mean, this actually really is a project that I'm doing, so it's realistic for me. This is how I work. So let's see. Harshit says in response, I have already cloned and tested the app yesterday, so I'm not wasting my time. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so the Whisper in Your Ears is saying, still talking about the question of a full stack framework, is saying the JavaScript doesn't have a dominant stack like Laravel for PHP. Harshit says use Pug with Express. It's really powerful. Okay. Harshit says it gives flexibility. Okay, so I'm not going to read everything, but there's a debate here about whether or not Express is capable in the same way as a full stack framework is a dominant framework. So the debate seems to be from, well, you can add things to Express to basically do everything that you want. It allows a lot of flexibility like that. But on the other hand, it's not like ready to go, you know, right off the bat to do everything you need. So let's see. Somebody's mentions Happy is HAPI. It's a framework. I've never used that, so I can't comment on it. Let's see. Sri mentions, do you know what Asyncio, or is that async dot? It's supposed to be async dot. I don't really know. No, I'm not aware of what Asyncio is. Jamal says, is this the Udacity project? Yes, it is the Udacity project. So it's project 3 of that React Nano degree for Udacity. So it's the final project. So as soon as I'm done with this and it gets accepted, then I'm officially done with the Nano degree, and I passed. So really excited. If you all been watching, you know, like, it's been taking up a lot of my time doing the Nano degree. So I learned a lot through this, but I'm definitely excited to not spend all my Saturdays and doing this. I'd much rather have some time to spend with the kids, and I'm sure they would rather have me spend time with them as well. Let's see. Framework. Alright, Sri's saying you really can't do this any more than 5 minutes. I'm not sure what I was doing at the time when you said that, Sri, so I guess if you could elaborate, maybe I'll answer, but I can't. When was that? 153. Yeah, I'm not sure what I was working on at that time. Sri also says you can't do it. Yeah, I don't remember what I was working on at the time. Harshad asked if I need a PR in this project too. Already cloned and tested it. Actually, Harshad, I appreciate the offer, but I don't feel comfortable taking any PRs for this project since it is for a course. So I need to do it all myself since it's for a course. Otherwise, as you all know, I'm perfectly happy to collaborate on projects. I'm not one that needs all the control over things. I realize that you all bring a lot of expertise to the table, so I'm quick to admit whenever I need to take the help of someone else. But in this case, since it is for a class and I'm being graded in a sense on this, I'm gonna have to figure it all out on my own. But again, thanks for the offer. I appreciate that. And then certainly after I turn it in, if we want to keep working on this, I'm definitely open for that. If we want to try to make it better and actually launch it as an app, that's cool too. I think I'll probably still work on it. I'd like to maybe have my kids be able to use it to help them study. So that's something I'm definitely open to. Rook says, those unitless CSS values are pixels. Can you use REM as well? I'm not sure if they're exactly pixels. I don't recall, in that part of the course when they explain that, I don't recall exactly what they are. So I don't know. Maybe somebody knows. But I don't know if they translate exactly to what pixels would be. Let's say like if you were in a browser on a mobile device. I don't think you can. So he asks also about using EM or REM. I don't think you can use any units. I actually haven't tried, but I'm pretty sure that you're not supposed to use units with that. So if you if you don't remember that part, when we're doing the CSS or the styles for in React Native, there are no units. So normally you would see pixels or EMs or something here, but we don't use units. Alright, Harshit says, I guess the unit is relative to device. Yeah, I think that's how it works. It all depends on I guess the device pixel ratio. Well, and that, I don't know. It's hard to talk about it without a unit, right? But I think it does depend on the resolution of the screen and size of the screen. Let's see. Harshit says, hey Jesse, did you hear about Atom IDE? Check out atom.io. Yeah, actually, I saw something about the Atom IDE. I may end up checking that out at some point. So we'll see. Maybe I'll test it out and we could use it on a stream or something. When I first heard about it, I thought I didn't really need any of that functionality, but it would still be cool maybe to take a look at and just to show everyone. John Hansen says the start quiz button looks wider. Odd. Yeah. Let me reload, see if it'll work. There we go. Yeah, let's check that out. Actually, you're right. The start quiz button does look wider. Interesting. I'll have to check that out later on to see if it really is wider. I mean, there's yeah, that is odd. Yeah, definitely want them to be the same. I don't want one to be wider than the other. I may change how these buttons look as well. Right now, at this point, I'm not as worried about the styles because I just need to get this turned in before the deadline. So unfortunately, it's not going to look awesome, but I just need to fit all the project requirements. So I can always style it later on. So there's some debate about between Vue and React, which I'm kind of skipping over a bit to look for more questions. Okay, Blake says, if I learned React, would I also know almost all of React Native? Well, it depends on how much you mean by almost all. You would know a lot. You would know a lot of it. So the concepts are the same, right? So the idea that you have these components that get rendered into something else, right? That's entirely the same. But in terms of like specifically how you do things, right? There are some differences, but I mean, I pointed out, to me at least, the big differences for me in learning it, and you can see they weren't really that big of a deal. So I didn't think it was that big of a stretch to move from React to React Native. Okay, now I don't know, if I went even deeper and tried to do something more complex than just a flashcard app, maybe I would run into some more issues. But I think for me at least, going from not using React to do web development to using React was a much harder transition than transitioning from React to React Native. So that was just my experience, but it just didn't seem that hard to translate the concepts into building something, you know, for a phone than doing web development. So Blake asked, so what do you think I should learn? Yeah, so Blake, I think, to be honest with you, it depends on what your goals are for learning, right? I mean, learn whatever you enjoy, you know, or learn what you need to do for the projects that you're doing. But React right now is growing. It's continuing to grow. There are a lot of React jobs. The pay for React developers is nice. So if you enjoy working with React, I say go for it. I mean, are there alternatives that are popular? Yeah, there are alternatives that are popular, but I see React more and more in job listings. So if your goal is to get a job doing this type of thing, then you know it'd be. I don't think it would be wrong to go with React, but it just depends. I mean, if you check out Vue and you really like Vue, there are jobs for Vue developers. If you check out Angular and you love that, then there's still, you know, there are a lot of jobs for that. So definitely test out different things. But I think you'd be fine if you did want to go with React. I think you'd be fine from the standpoint of having marketable skills. Let's see. All right, I gotta keep an eye on the time here. 3:24. Okay, so I'm good. Probably about like 10 more minutes. I'm gonna try to get through the rest of these questions. I think I can do it. Blake asks, well, he's asking Harshit, would you agree that there's bigger support base in React? Harshit says yes. Yeah, I would agree as well. John Hansen says, does one need to use native if a Create React app has a responsive layout, or does this all go further than how React delivers different from desktop to Android, iOS, etc. for mobile portable apps? Yes, yeah, so you could potentially do, like in one of our previous projects, we used Create React app just for a regular React app, and then we were able to save it to our desktop and run it, and it looked a lot like a native app, but it really wasn't a native app, right? So to get more of the benefits of a native app, you go with React Native, right? So if you're doing just a regular React app, you could make it seem like it was a native app, but really it wouldn't be. The underlying code is still JavaScript, HTML, CSS. When you're using React Native, the underlying code becomes native code for that device. So depending on where your iOS or Android, it's different, but we're no longer talking about just HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That's what you see when you develop, but what actually ends up getting delivered to the device is the native code. So there's definitely, under the hood, there's a big difference, but then you also have access to more on the device. So I know the support is pretty good for, let's say, a browser like Chrome to access a lot of things on the device, but it's never going to be as good. I shouldn't say never, but it's not as good, at least now, in terms of having direct access to all the functions on a device. And I imagine there's definitely some performance improvements as well when you could do it like that. So if your goal is to build an app that people can download from an app store, then definitely use React Native. If you're not that worried about that, and it's something that would make more sense to be a website that could potentially also act like an app, progressive web app, then you could just use normal React. Let's see. All right, so Blake linked something. I'm not going to have time to read through this, but the question, the link for the question is React.js versus static. What should I do? So I'm going to, unfortunately, I think if I want to be done in time, let me save that, and if I get through the rest of the live chat, maybe I'll try to come back to it if I have time. Let's see. Rook says, in that logical and error, try wrapping the arrow function in parentheses. Okay, that must have been we were getting errors there. So I guess we worked it out. Sorry I didn't see that when I was working on it there, Rook. Thanks. Thanks for helping, though. Raj says, maybe you should make a video about how to keep up with your videos. Maybe I will. Do you all think that I need to do that? Have some instructions? There are quite a few videos now, and some are better than others. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. You all are very nice about it, but I know there are some times when I have a goal for a stream and it just doesn't happen, and it's just a failure for the most part. Other times we get a lot of stuff done and it's really cool, but I mean, that's what it's supposed to be, right? The goal of the stream isn't like, let's get as much done as possible. It's, let's see what it's like for somebody to get through their work and sometimes fail. All right. Rishabh says, hey man, pretty excited for the stream. Working on it from last 8 months. Really excited to see if I missed something as per standards. Okay, cool. Awesome. Vibhav says, good morning. Hey, how's it going? Rishabh says, I've been writing services on Meteor and consuming services with React Native. It's great for middle-level apps. All right, that's cool. That's cool. I'm glad to hear you have some experience with React Native. So maybe for future projects when we use it, it'll be a great resource for us then. Let's see. And Anuoluwapo, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but Anuoluwapo says, for the pages using the Stack Navigator, do you have to import Stack Navigator from React Native Navigation? Another quick walkthrough on how the screen navigator works would be cool. Okay, yeah, no problem. Let's check out that navigator again. So I'm going to go back into app.js and let's check out. So right now we're importing Tab Navigator and Stack Navigator from React Navigation. And then what we have are two. So here's our main navigator. All right, well, we have a home screen. We have a deck, new question, and quiz. Okay, so we just have 4 views. Then for home, we're actually importing a whole nother navigator because we want the home view to have tabs. So in that case, we've created another navigator, the Tab Navigator, and within Tab Navigator we have 2 views, list view, deck view. All right, so we have 4 main views, and then we have this home screen actually is split up into 2 different parts. So I guess that's what, 5 in total. So that's how we bring that in. And now that we've done this, all right, and we've linked all this up here in app.js, which is our root component. Now, when we go into something like, let's go to list view because that's home. When we go into this view, we can do navigation. So we can actually do this. So we have this on press, this props, navigation, navigate, deck, right? So we can navigate right to that view called deck, which we added in here. So the view is called deck, and it goes to the screen, the component of deck view. And for all of our subcomponents, we can do that. We can just run that navigate, this props, navigation, navigate, and go right there. And this isn't all we can do. There are a lot of other options for what you can do with the navigator, but this is the one that I'm using most often. Potentially this might be the only way that I'm doing things because the app's pretty simple. And then I happen to be passing some data along as well, which is nice to be able to do that. But that's optional. Okay. So hopefully that helps. I can show you, I guess, the touch as well. So where am I bringing this in at? Flashcards. Status bar. No, that's my status bar. Then I guess it's in list view. I guess it just gets added in. I was looking to see if there was some place where we had to add in the tabs, but I don't think we did. So when we choose Tab Navigator and we say what we want each one to be, so we want it to display as decks and new deck, and then we give it some options for styling, then automatically on the home screen, it just adds those tabs. And it knows what views, what components from here. We've given it the list view, new deck view. So you don't actually have to plug that in anywhere. It's there. Let's go back to one of those views. As you can see. So there we go. There's our tabs. So hopefully that helped. To help understand that. Like, I mean, that's like just a really simple thing. It took me a while to read through documentation and watch the videos and figure out how that all works together. So if anyone is having trouble getting that after my very quick explanation, don't worry about it. I definitely needed a little while for that all to sink in and to process. Tiago says, or asked, do you think the React Nano degree is a good idea? Are you enjoying it? I am enjoying it. So like I said, I'm busy, so I'm not enjoying having to spend all that time away from my family, but I've learned a lot from it. So it's pushed me to do things that I probably would not have pushed myself to do. So I like it. I think it was worth it. I wish I paid the full price for the course, and then a few weeks later they had a sale for half price. So my only regret is that I didn't wait for the sale and get it for half price. But otherwise, it's been great. I especially really like the code reviews. So when you turn in a project, it gets reviewed by someone, and they go through and let you know what you could have done better, or if you didn't meet some of the requirements, and they give you suggestions. So that was really helpful, because I don't usually have people reviewing my code, so that was helpful, and that really pushed me, to go back and say, no, do it again, that's not the best way you could have done it. And so I've definitely learned a lot. I've come a long way between these streams and the help that you are giving me and the React Nano degree. I've learned quite a bit in these last few months of doing this. I'm pretty amazed at how far I've come, in terms of my abilities with React in just that short amount of time. So I think I'll end up doing a video, like a review of my thoughts on the course when I'm done with it. So maybe sometime in November I'll be able to make that, and I'll put that on my YouTube channel and just kind of go through what I thought. But as of right now, I say it was worth it. Oh, cool. Alexander says in terms of the pixels, they are DIP, density independent pixels. Awesome. Cool. I figured that there was some explanation for it, but thanks for that. So the unitless, let's see where we're at. Not an app. So the unitless values here that we're using for React Native are actually device independent pixels. Was that it? Density independent pixels. Sorry, I messed it up. Density independent pixels. Let's see. Mujtaba. All right, Mujtaba, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but Mujtaba says, Jesus was sent by God to teach people. Teaching is like being a prophet, but people do never appreciate many things in life, though, if the knowledge is free of charge. Great job. Yeah, actually, unfortunately, you're right. If something's free, people do usually take it for granted and don't appreciate it quite as much. So it's great that freeCodeCamp is free, but sometimes just in talking to people, no one's come out and said it, but occasionally I get the feeling that sometimes people don't take freeCodeCamp as seriously as some of the other people that teach code for profit, that cost money. When I think what we have at freeCodeCamp is really high quality. It's amazing. And I'm not just talking about my stream. I mean, sometimes my stream is a mess, but the other people that do videos and that work on the freeCodeCamp website and the forum, and all the different things that freeCodeCamp has going on, it's great quality. It's amazing what we've been able to do just with volunteers and keep it all completely free of charge. So it is really good. And I hope people realize that in this case, free does not mean that it's somehow below the quality of other things. I mean, I think freeCodeCamp in many cases is a better quality than some of the paid courses that I've taken and that I've seen. So anyway, thanks for that, Mujtab. I appreciate you saying that. Let's see. Sakin says, Redux Saga doesn't make sense to me. The generator thing looks so high-level stuff. What do you use? Thunk, Saga, Observer, or anything else? I've used Thunk. So Thunk's pretty simple. I've used it. I have not had experience with Saga yet. So I'll probably end up working with it at some point. I just kind of like to know what it's like and what the difference is between Thunk and Saga. But if you're having trouble with Saga, I would check out Thunk. It's really simple to use, at least in my experience. Let's see. Harshad asked what mirroring software I'm using. It's called Visor. Let me see if I can bring it up. So yeah, I don't know if you can see that. No, you can't see that on the bottom because my thing's in the way. Let me move this. Oops. Let me move this so you can see a little bit. So Visor, that's the icon there. I guess that's really small. But it's called, what is it? VYSOR, Visor. Let's see. Let me see the time. Oh man, I gotta wrap. Let me go really quickly through the rest of the live chat, and then I gotta go to my meeting. I can't be late to this meeting. The head of my department is going to be in this one, and my boss will be in it. So I definitely gotta finish up quickly here. So I'm going to skip the comments, so sorry I won't be able to read all the comments, but I do want to get to the questions. Sklobird says, how do I get an overview of all the JavaScript frameworks? I just use basic JS for now, and I don't know with which frameworks I should start. I don't program for a living. I don't know that there's a resource. Off the top of my head, I don't know a resource that does an overview. I imagine it probably exists somewhere. So I'll tell you what, send me a message on Twitter or something, and then I'll send, if I can find something, I'll send it to you. If I had more time in the stream, I'd try to look something up right now, so sorry about that. But come back for another stream or send me a message or something on Twitter, and I'll try to help you out as best I can. Oh, cool. Harshit says there's a material design framework for React Native, so it's React Native Material Design.github.io. Awesome. That sounds really cool. Like I said, I'm not going to do it now because I need to turn this in. The deadline's almost here. But after I turn it in, if I do some extra work, I may end up using that. Okay. All right, Harshit, I see what you're saying about the SendGrid keys. I will test that out later on, maybe after my meeting. Okay, Harshit's asking about how to find freelance work. Yeah, so like I don't have time to answer it right now because I got to go to my meeting, but Harshit, ask me that, send me a message on Twitter or ask me in tomorrow's stream and we can go over that in more depth. I do have some advice. I used to freelance for like 3 years, so I definitely have some advice on that. So I'm happy to help you out with that. Worlds asks, what's the disadvantage of PHP? I don't work that much with PHP, but one thing that I've noticed with PHP that I don't really like, and I haven't dealt with it a lot, but I have a coworker that's dealt with it a lot, and it's been a problem, is the different versions of PHP don't always work well together. So he's worked on some legacy projects where he can't upgrade to newer versions of things because of issues with different PHP versions supporting different things. So it's he's kind of stuck, and I'm afraid at times it can be a security issue because he has to run things in different versions of PHP. We've inherited this old code, and so we have to keep different versions running and try to keep track of what will work on these different versions. I don't really like that. It seems like with JavaScript, there's not that much of an issue. Like everything's always backwards compatible. At least I haven't really run into anything like that. So that's at least for me, the only bad thing I've run into with PHP. And maybe there's a way around that, and I just don't know it because I don't use PHP that much. But otherwise, I know people that they make good money, doing things with PHP, and they do really cool stuff with it. So, so I don't think there's a problem using it. Harshit says, will you stream React Native tomorrow? Maybe. It depends on how much I get done on this project today. I'm going to work on it later on today, so we'll see. If I get it finished and I turn it in, I may not stream about it. If I don't, then I probably will stream. So maybe. The answer is maybe. All right, so I got through everything. Sorry I had to skip over a lot of the comments, and I couldn't give as good of answers as I normally do. Like I said, I'm just running out of time. So I will be back tomorrow, most likely, in case I'm crazy. Unless something crazy happens, I'll be back around the same time, around 2 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. And thank you so much for all your help during this, and a lot of great discussion in the live chat. I love when that happens. You all are helping each other out and helping me out, so it was just awesome. But anyway, I have to go and go to a meeting now, so I'll be back tomorrow, and until then, have a great day.